You will find the greatest breathwork facilitators from around the world in one place. Our extensive, truly unique database of breathwork videos and live classes created by our breath masters offers you the opportunity to learn breathwork with the best teachers in the universe. Dive into our app and become a student today.
Hello, Breath Source Tribe. William Travis Steffens here, founder and CEO of the Breath Source, also known as Source. And I'm here with the absolute freaking legend, Jesse Coomer himself, Language of
Hey,
Breath. Jesse has not only become a great friend of mine and mentor. We do stuff with business all the time, great businessman. But he also is teaching breath work to the military, to firefighters, to EMS, first responders, to the police. Jesse's really taken breath work to a new level around the globe. And I want him to introduce himself real quick, and then I want to talk to a couple stories about some fun stuff about Jesse.
oh, I can't wait for that. Yeah, my name is Jesse Coomer, and yes, I have been a professional breath worker since 2016, and I often will divulge the information that I am a recovering college professor. I taught in the university for 11 years. My focus was research and rhetoric, and what that ultimately is how to synthesize research and how to put it into terms that is usable in the real world. And so I've tried to apply that to the breathwork world, and in doing so, it's taken me through a lot of surprises, a lot of things that I didn't think were even related, but that seem to be at the very foundations of what breathwork is and what it does. So I'm always excited to be with you, Travis, because you're always looking for the next big thing in the world of health and wellness. And of course, the Breath Source has been a really great opportunity to share what I have to offer as well.
Well, and as everybody knows, the Breath Source is about co-creation. And Jesse, you have always been so beautiful in the co-creation piece, man. I'm so grateful
Thank
for
you.
that. So I travel around the world and I teach breath work all over the globe. And I was in Mexico, and a dear friend of mine, San, just got certified as a teacher by Language of Breath. So from Mexico to I'm driving, I live in Colorado. So I'm driving through Colorado, and I'm up on one of the highest passes in Colorado, up by Silverton, one of my favorite places. And I just want to get off the road, take a nap, and go for a hike. So I drive off the road, this four-wheel drive road, totally crazy. I mean, I'm driving through some pretty gnarly stuff. And I get up to a parking lot, and there's this waterfall coming down off the mountain. And I'm alone at the moment, and I go hiking up, and then I come down, and I'm like, holy shit, there's a car there. And had no expectation of a car being there. So I walk up and I'm just like minding my own business. And I kind of glance to my left, and there's this pair of lungs, which you guys will see with Language of the Breath. That's the logo for Language Breath. I see this pair of lungs on this t-shirt. I'm like, that looks like a Language of Breath logo. And I'm like, there's no way. So I kind of move over a little bit, and I get over there, and sure as shit, it is a Language of Breath t-shirt. And I go up to the guy. I'm like, hey, man, you know Jesse Coomer? He's like, yeah, I just came from a retreat. And Jesse had just thrown this world-class retreat at the top of a mountain in, I think, Silverton.
That's right.
And so then I'm blown away. So then about 6 months ago, I'm in China. Like, I'm in old world China, like the mainland. I'm teaching breath work on the top of a building in mainland China with this incredible woman named Reith. And I start talking about breath work, and she's like, yeah, the only teacher I really know of is this guy. His name is something Jesse. I go, Jesse Coomer? And she goes, yes. And I'm like, of course it's Jesse. So from China to Mexico to the United States, top of the mountain, the Language of Breath is known all over the world. And I'm so proud of you, man.
Well, thank you so much. It's so flattering and so humbling to hear just how far and wide it's spread. You know, we have breath workers that have worked with us from multiple continents. We have multiple languages. You know, it was so nice. San, who is also a breath source breath worker, He came out and trained, and he's just an incredible breath worker. We've just really been very, very fortunate in all of our classes to have such really talented people. And what I credit that to is our focus, really keeping the focus in the physiology and the psychology that are interfaced with, right, with our breathing. And so, but I love hearing these stories. You know, it's just really, really amazing to see all of that, and to see the proliferation of the language of breath as it's continued to grow over the years.
That's awesome. And you just said something that has struck a chord with me that a lot of people aren't thinking about, and it's the psychology of breath work.
Hmm.
And geniuses like Peter Litchfield and who created the Cap No Go, and people understand that there is a psychological side of breath work that is often misunderstood. And
Yeah.
there is the spiritual esoteric side that some people buy into and some people don't, but that psychological side is very important as well.
Well, yeah, and when we talk to people who apply for the language of breath, the breath worker certification program, one of the things I do want to make very clear, you know, I want a person to know what they're getting into, and so our focus is not just one technique, it's not just one principle. We really take the psychology and the physiology, and we work with the whole human being. And I always say we're not anti-spiritual. We just don't cover that particular
Mhm.
area. Our main focus is the physiology and the psychology, which when you really get down into the depths of it is just, I mean, it's absolutely mind-blowing. And it's just as awe-inspiring, in my opinion, as anything else that you might find outside of that. One of the biggest things that I found is while a lot of us have been focusing on the physiological aspects, which are absolutely there, it all comes back to our psychology, right? It all
Yeah.
comes back to how our conscious and unconscious processes are working, either working in concert in a way that puts us in the best state for the environment, for our challenges, for the life we want to live, or is a total mess and makes us feel like a total mess and makes us feel like there's something wrong with us and all this other things, when in reality we just generally don't have a great understanding. Like, you know, I think it would be wonderful if someday, you know, we teach this in schools. In fact, I'm
Yes.
working with some I just recently moved to the Chicago area, and I have a lot of students up here. So one of my students is a school counselor, and he's been using what he learned in the language of breath program over the past year, and the results are amazing. And it's this stuff that it's not, you know, the clickbait like, hey, you'll never have a problem ever happen again, but it's this thing where, guess what, life is going to be what life is going to be. The way that we feel affects the way that we see the world, and it affects the way we interact with the world. And we can work with that in a positive way using breath, right? So we use how we breathe, but we also use our ability to become aware of those things. And so when we train our breath workers, and so this particular breath worker, his name is also Jesse, and it's just confusing. Every time we go and we talk to in a meeting, you know, it's like, oh, Jesse was telling me, it's like, huh, which one? So we're gonna have to figure out some kind of a nickname or something like that. But we're bringing this to the people that really need it the most, you know. And so so this is one of the biggest groups that is interested in the language breath. We have a lot of social workers, mental health therapists, therapists of all different kinds. But I also like to say there's a few Jessies in there too. I was just a college professor. I really had never thought of being in the health and wellness world, but it was something I was passionate about as well. So if whether you're already in a field, a helper field, or if you're a person like myself, I was my own first client. This is a certification that can put you at a very high level of expertise so that you can go out and you can help the world.
Yes, and such a high level of expertise that military, fire, EMS, police, all of the special forces, if you will, United States stateside, are utilizing language of breath and Jesse's teachings to be able to take their life, their psychology, their awareness, their conscious awareness to the next level, because breath is the foundation of everything. And
It's
so it's
it is
beautiful.
so essential. Yeah. And when we think about people who are there on those terrible, the worst case scenarios, the people that have to show up and be maybe the grown up in the room while the rest of the world is falling apart, we want to equip those people with the best tools possible. And the best tool that we have is our own ability to think and analyze and really rationalize the situation. And anyone who understands, the way that the brain works, we know that under those circumstances, it's actually very difficult to use our brain. And so what we do, for instance, the curriculum that I wrote for the right now, the Indianapolis Metro Police Academy. So if any of the police officers who are going through the police academy right now, they're learning a portion of, basically they're learning my curriculum that I wrote. We have some language of breath workers who also work with that demographic as well. So we have a lot of police, EMS who certify with us. And what I try to do for that group is also offer them that curriculum so that they can share that with their communities as well. So if we want a better world, we have to be willing to say, hey, here are the tools and here's the science so that we can actually have that better world.
Yeah, it's beautiful. That better world is up to us individually. We reflect that out. So we got to find it internal first, and no better way to do that than through the breath.
Yeah,
So I love that, man. And Jesse, you've got some cool stuff coming up. I know the banner's running across the top, but you've got a 2025 cohort coming up.
absolutely. Hey, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. I've never seen that on a Instagram live. I feel like we're breaking new grounds in so many
We
ways.
are, we are.
So yeah, the Language of Breath Worker School. We're opening up our doors to the next cohort. This is our 2025 cohort, and this is the basics the things that you need to know. Ultimately, this is a hybrid program. So we do a lot of what I might, maybe call the book learning or the understanding of how to teach this, because there is a difference between how to build your own breathwork practice, right? So we do say, okay, read the book, make sure that you're familiar with it in yourself so that you can build your own practice. But there's a huge difference in that versus having clients who coming to you with their problems, people who are coming to you looking for help, and understanding how to never hurt that person, because something as powerful as breath work, while we love to think there's never any downside, if there's a powerful upside, you can do harm with that. So we want to make sure you never do any harm so that you're always giving them a positive experience, a safe experience that's going to lead them to a better outcome. So what we do is we start with that program. We have right now, we're about 1/3 full. So we're getting quite a few applications right now. And we're going to take applications until we've accepted the full program's worth of individuals. We're not the type of group that's just going to blow up and say, oh, we'll have like 100 people in a class. One thing that I learned at the university was that's not good for the student. It's not good for the teacher either. So I want to be able to give everyone great instruction. And then we also have some amazing faculty, but we don't want to overwhelm the faculty either. So we're about 1/3 full, and we continue to take applications until we've filled the class. And we'll start our online portion. We meet every Saturday on a Zoom, and we start that in April. So April 5th is when we start our very first class. And then we finish that with a capstone in-person event in Bryan Head, Utah this year. So we like the mountains. We like these beautiful places. You bumped into Chris outside of Silverton, Colorado. This is going to be in Bryan Head, Utah. Absolutely gorgeous. And one of the biggest reasons why we try to go out, first of all, we want to go out in nature. We want to have an amazing experience, not only learning hands-on, getting a real good feel for that practical application, but we also want to send you back out into the world completely ready for your business. We want you to be able to have an offer that is a good offer to somebody so that you can help them and you can hopefully develop some revenue. So in addition to the highest level of training and expertise, You will also get training in how to build that programming, how to build all those things, how to do intake, how to have the right kind of health or the liability insurance, all the stuff that I had to learn the hard way, but you don't have to learn it the hard way. And then we also have a professional photo shoot that every single one of our graduates gets to enjoy. So we have a photo shoot out in the mountains. You're guiding breath work. You're doing functional breath assessments, ultimately giving you everything that I wish I would have had. Whatever. And I bet you can relate to this, right? Doing the selfie at your event is, I mean, it's as good as I had back in the day, but it's really not that much like, hey, look, I'm a high quality person. We want to send a person out there, not only actually having that expertise, the highest level of expertise, but we want you to be able to convey that well to your prospective clients as well. So we want to set you up so well with your expertise, and then actually that way that you have the package deal ready to go as soon as you leave, so you can start helping people and generating some revenue as well.
That's beautiful, man. I love it. And I do know you're going to you fill up every single class.
That's
And
right.
so we're really honored to be able to promote this with you. So that's really exciting. And then we also have we've got the Breath Source discount if you come through the Breath Source. So if you sign
Right.
up through the Breath Source, talk about that discount there too.
So, when it comes to the breath source discount, we have there's a few things you do need to get up on the front end. We want you to be able to have a really good knowledge coming in early on. So you do need to purchase the book. You do need to purchase the online course, and those are prerequisites. So you get a discount on those when you come through, and you also you do have the opportunity to get a discount through the Breath Source on the tuition as well. And for more details on that, you'd want to reach out to us just so that we can explain that in greater depth. But the way this works is, for your tuition, that includes not only the education, all the photo shoot, all the promotional materials, digital archives, you get music, all those things. But it also does include, it includes the retreat, your food, everything. The only other thing you would need to do is get there. So you can walk, run, take a plane, bus, etc., however you'd like to get there. But it's an all-inclusive package. So I believe we have a link special for the Breath Source. And the great thing is when you fill that out, so when you do the application process through that link, what happens is then our faculty, either myself or someone from our faculty, will get a hold of you. And we want to make sure that this is the right program for you. And this is good for us. It's good for you. We want to make sure that people who go through this program, this is exactly what they want. So for instance, like I said, we're not anti-spiritual. We're just not, we don't provide spiritual guidance or any kind of, that's not a slant that we do. So we would want to talk to you about that and just make sure you know exactly what you want. A lot of times we're just really interested in how you plan to use this education, so that whenever you get into our class, it's a perfect fit and an experience for everybody.
Yeah, so Breath Source patrons, the link will be shared here. And then we'll also be sending out a newsletter campaign helping to promote Language of Breath and this new cohort 2025. And Jesse's books are out. So he's got a cold plunge book. Tell us about that.
The cold plunge book was a bestseller. And you know what's funny is I've come out with multiple books that have been my very first book was called A Practical Guide to Breath Work, and that's the one that really it just exploded. It really it's still one of the most recommended books on breath work that have ever been published, and I'm so proud of it. But what's funny is that it was one of those slow burners, and it didn't get me on the bestseller list. And then my second book, The Language of Breath, I'm insanely proud of this book. This book has been translated in all different languages. Actually, we got to get one out to China because it's in Chinese now. It's across the world, and it is still selling like crazy. The Language of Breath is ultimately really a deep dive into the psychology. So if you're really interested in how how the language of breath system works. It gives you a nice structural overview of it. But then I came out with a practical guide to cold training in August of this year. And here's the funny thing. I mean, this was an ebook for the longest time. And people were like, when are you going to finish it? Finish it, right? And so I finally finished it, published it, and it just blew up. So it's the reason why I can put best-selling author next to my name. It's right now. I do have a little thing I'm doing right now. If you're looking for a signed copy, you can reach out to me for Black Friday. I'm doing a little signing. If you get the cold training book, I give you the a practical guide to breath work for free with it, and that's within the United States, because man, it for some reason, as soon as you cross the border, it's not $5 to ship it anymore. So
yeah, tell me about it.
Now my next book, I'm just gonna, while we're talking about it, and maybe we'll talk about this with the breath source, but my family and I wrote a book, and we're coming out with it next month. It's called Moo, a practical guide to chilling out. And it is a children's book. It's my first foray into children's books. And it tells the story. Most people, you drive by, cows, or before I moved to Chicago, I used to do this a lot more often. I lived in rural Indiana, but you might drive past, a herd of cows. They're all just kind of really chill and hanging out. Well, it wasn't always like that. They used to be really nervous. And this is the story about how they learned breath work. It sounds to us humans like they're mooing, but they're really doing some breath work. So that's coming out next month. It's been a lot of fun writing that book. My son, I think, got a double dose of my sense of humor, and he's just had a blast with me on this. So we're looking forward to bringing that one out next month. I'm just kind of hooked. It's just part of me. I like research. I often say that a teacher is a person who's curious and can't keep a secret. And so that's basically a good definition of me. I'm just always like, wonder what that's all about. So
nice. Love it. It's so cool, Jesse. And thanks for all the stories, and thanks for bringing your heart to the world. And thanks for leaving professorism to come and be our professor for breath and be the language of breath around the world.
Well, it's a real pleasure, Travis, and it's an honor to be a part of such an amazing group of people on the Breath Source. I remember getting a call from you. I don't know, it's been like a year or two now, and hey, I've got this idea, and it's really grown up into a really awesome thing. And I just want to encourage everyone who's watching, if you haven't tried it yet, check it out. This is always a stressful time of year, so you could use a good session or two. And so if you want to take a look at that, I think there's a few free sessions on there to kind of get you started if you just want to get an idea. But it's a really great value. Hey, who's that handsome devil? Who's that handsome devil?
Language of breath, Jesse Coomer.
You can get access to some of our sessions.
Hop onto the Breath Masters in the session and grab Jesse and take a look, and then sign up for his class.
Be looking out for, if you're not already on the email list for either my email list or the Breath Source email list, be looking out for those emails coming out so you can get access to those discounts and special pricing specifically for the Breath Source.
Beautiful. All right, brother. Well, as the source says, we love you and we appreciate you. And everybody go sign up for the 2025 cohort. It will fill up. And be sure to look for the link on the signatures to sign up for that here. And then look for our emails announcing the Language of Breath 2025 cohort. So, Jesse, it's been such a pleasure, my brother.
Always a pleasure, Travis. You have a happy Thanksgiving.
You too. All the love, team. Bye, Source. Happy Thanksgiving. Bye-bye.